Welcome back to another Mini Hoops podcast. This week's episode, we're going to be talking about Game 6 Eastern Conference Finals, the Hawks' future, some other young talent in the league futures, and end it off, we'll talk a finals preview with the Suns and the Bucks. So first, we're going to bring up the Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Boys, what do you think?
Again, the Bucks got a really well-rounded effort from their whole rotation. Middleton had 32. He was kind of inefficient, 10 of 22 from the field, 4 of 10 from 3, but had 7 assists and 3 steals, 7 turnovers, not good. But Lopez again with 13, Bobby Portis with 12. Drew Holiday had 27, which is probably the biggest surprise. He doesn't usually score that many points. 42 minutes played. 11 of 23 from the field, 4 of 12 from 3. 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 steals for Holiday. So really, really good game from him. Pat Connaughton had 13 off the bench, 3 of 6 from 3. Jeff Teague had 11 points. So I think the Bucks well-rounded scoring attack from their whole roster was the thing that stood out the most to me.
Yeah, they all contributed pretty well to the offense, and contributed well on defense to hold some of the Hawks' better scores to very inefficient nights, like Trae Young, 4 for 17, and Herter only shot 2 for 10. But yeah, they just played good team basketball and were able to pull out the win.
Yeah, exactly. Thing that catches me most by surprise is Brook Lopez again leading the plus minus with a plus 25 for the Bucks in the series. And then another thing that surprised me is how efficient Jeff Teague was, 3 for 3 on his 3-pointers in his limited minutes. But overall, the Hawks, they gave it their all. Troy, like you said, Steinman, that Troy just didn't play efficient. Same with Herter, 4 for 17, 0 for 6 from 3. And Herter 2 for 10, 1 for 6 from 3. But the big surprise to me is how efficient Cam Reddish was. And this will kind of transition us into our Hawks talk here about the Hawks' future. They have a really bright future in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of their young talent is has a really high ceiling. Obviously, Trae Young is a superstar potentially. Could be. He's only 22. Cam Reddish is only 21. Herter is 22. Okongwu is 20. Collins, if he stays, is 23. And DeAndre Hunter is only 23. They're all, or a few of them are under contract for a few more years. I think Herter's deal he's got 2 years left, something like that. And obviously Collins is going to be a restricted free agent this offseason. But it might be expensive to keep all those guys down the road. But for now, they have probably the best, if not one of the best groups of young players in the league. And they did this playoff run without DeAndre Hunter. So he's a guy who can come in and can spread the floor, and is also a really, really good defender. So it's going to be really, really exciting to watch them play in the future.
Yeah, I'm also agreeing with you, Gabe. The Hawks core is super young, and I just don't know what they're going to do for the future because with their cap situation that they're currently dealing with. So a question that I want to present to you guys personally is, do you think the Hawks are going to move on from John Collins?
I don't know if it would be smart for them to move on from John Collins right now. He's still pretty young, and he was definitely a big contributor for them this year. I think if they dealt him at the deadline, then it would have been smart to move on from him. But right now, I feel like you might as well just try and run it back with the team you had after your run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Try and improve on last year.
Yeah, I think I hate to say that it depends on the price, because you could say that to just about any question in regards to free agency or certain players staying or leaving. But I think it's really pertinent for the Hawks. If John Collins signs an offer sheet anywhere north of like 20 million, I think it's going to be kind of tough. Um, they have Onyeka Okongwu coming off the bench right now, who could soak up some of those minutes if Collins decides to leave. Gallinari could also take some of those minutes. And I just don't know if the Hawks used John Collins like he was a $20 million player this year. I feel like they run pick and roll with him and Trey. They run that double drag action with Capella and John Collins, which is a great action for them. It makes a lot of sense. Capella rolls to the rim. Collins kind of flares to the 3-point line. But, I think you can find a guy who can do that, what Collins did in those actions for way less than 20 million. But I don't know. Collins is a special talent because he can roll to the rim and he can space the floor. He's improved defensively. He's not spectacular, but I don't know if he's necessarily a negative defender. Maybe he benefits from Capella being next to him there at the 5. But so I think I would say they shouldn't move on from John Collins unless that price is too high, which I have a feeling it's going to be just because of their run in these playoffs and kind of just the hype around this team. So it really depends on the price for me on John Collins.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of you guys there. Yeah, the big thing for me is also the price and with the salary cap problem that the Hawks could be facing for the 2022 season with Trey and Kevin Huerter due for extensions. I just don't really know what they're going to do, frankly. I think Okongwu could be a really good replacement for him. I just think that if he takes this off season to start working on his 3-point range, that he could be probably the same fit as what John Collins was for this team. The pick and roller and the personnel step back and get the open looks. And that's what I think about this whole situation here.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough with that Gallinari contract. Still being on the books with those Trey extensions or Trey and Herter. Gallinari set to make about 20 million until the 23-24 offseason where he'll be a free agent. So there's a lot of money there. Trey will probably be on a max. Bogdanovich is still making 18. So they're gonna have to jump through some hoops. Capella's still making 18 million in the 22-23 season. So they're gonna have to work around that quite a bit.
Yeah, makes total sense. It's just they're struggling with a lot of things that they're doing right now. But moving on from the Hawks, let's talk some more young teams. Let's start with the Grizzlies. What do you think about the Grizzlies, guys?
Yeah, it's similar to the Hawks. They have impact players right now who are still really young. John Morant, Jaren Jackson are both still 21. Dylan Brooks, a little bit older, but he's 25. Desmond Bane is 23. Grayson Allen, who's not necessarily a star, but pretty decent role player, 25. DeAnthony Melton, 23. Xavier Tillman, only 22. So they've got a lot of young talent. Not all of those guys are going to be stars or super solid role players, but they've got the pieces in place in Memphis, and they made the playoffs last year. I'll be interested to see what they do in this offseason and off seasons and trade deadlines in the future to see how they kind of take that next step. It's not going to be easy to get free agents to come to Memphis, maybe more so than some of the other small market teams, but maybe guys want to play with Ja, so maybe it might be a little bit easier. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They got a really nice young core there.
Yeah, I agree. To be able to compete in the West and make the playoffs with a fairly young core team is pretty impressive, considering all like the superpowers that are in the West right now. But they should be able to keep improving year after year and should become one of those top teams here if they can keep all their guys together and they continue to, uh, improve.
Yeah, both of you guys' takes on the Grizzlies are really, really good. Like you said, Gabe, where it might be hard for getting free agents to do in Memphis. You might have to do the same thing like what the Wolves plan on doing with, going those big star hunting, where you can't really sign players that you might have to trade for them and build up the assets.
Right. What are some other teams that stand out to you guys when we're talking young talent or bright futures?
In my opinion, I think the OKC Thunder have probably the brightest future in the league at the moment. They have a lot of traded. Well, they have a good tradable contract right now in Kemba. They can acquire more young assets and build that core. They do have that fifth pick, I believe, in the draft this year. They almost had two first rounders to do it, or they almost had the two first rounders top lot in the lottery this year. But they just have a bunch of young core and talent and draft picks that I just don't know what they're going to do with them. My big take is, do they plan on these next coming years to use these assets and trade for a star to pair with a GA? Because I think that if you're the OKC line, you need to build around Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. Sam Presti has a lot of picks in his arsenal, like record-breaking amount of picks, I'm sure. But obviously they can't use all of those picks, or I'd be shocked if they did. So I'm just excited to see what he does in terms of trades. Um, they'll have another prized young player coming out of the draft this year. So it'll be fun to see when they get to that point of acquiring other talent from around the league and not just building through the draft. It'll be cool to see how Presti, who's, in my opinion, the best GM in the league, um, see how he navigates that, because he's got so many things that he can do, that OKC is looking really, really good for the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should just use a couple of their picks here. Take a shots on a couple of these first rounders, kind of take it slow, not win too many games for the next year or two. And then by the time Shea, or is it Shy, whatever, gets to his prime, then they'll have some more talent around him, and they can start trading the other picks to, bring in more players to pair with the ones they draft.
I forgot to mention, so OKC's got actually have pick 6, and they also have pick 16 for Boston. They acquired in the Kemba Walker trade. They also have pick 18, and then they have 3 second rounders, including pick 34 and 36. 36 is from the Timberwolves, but it's just crazy that OKC has 6 drafts in this draft.
Yeah, I would definitely expect them to move some of those second rounders, maybe try and get another first. Not necessarily all of them, but maybe one or two of them, something like that, to move up, because 3 second round picks is, I mean, if you're doing draft and stash players, so like overseas guys or just super raw talent guys, that makes sense. But um, it'd probably be more valuable for them to trade back up into the first or get another role player or something like that. So I don't expect them to keep all those second round picks.
Yeah, and they're not even bad picks at all. They're really high in the second round, where you can still get first round that maybe draft. So it's crazy to see. I'm looking forward to see what Thunder do here.
Definitely. And of course, we have to touch on the Wolves here. The Wolves do have some young talent. Anthony Edwards obviously being the number one player there. Really, really hesitant to put Jarrett Culver in this category.
Okay.
Jalen Noel has showed some flashes, as has Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, Josh Okogie. These are all guys who are young talent, but are also trade assets. Probably more so the latter than the former, because the Wolves want to win now, and they're not exactly looking to develop these guys in the long term. Like I said, we're looking to win now, and so we could potentially move all or some of these guys to catapult us into the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I agree. We definitely like Cat and D'Lo are what 25 to 26 going to be next season, so they're still pretty on the younger side of uh, you know, careers for players. So they could still make some big improvements to go along with Edwards. Hopefully, take another step next year. Yeah, I think it would be smart to get rid of some of our, you know, uh, other younger players that aren't going to be contributing as much to try and bring in a superstar that'll be more on the timeline with Cat and D'Lo.
Yeah, it's some very valid points there, boys. Another thing with the Wolves is they have a bunch of really good tradable contracts with how we are lined up with the salary cap right now. You got Beasley making 15 and a half next year. Rubio's expiring contract with 17 million. The thing with Culver, it kind of excites me still that you can still get some value out of him. Maybe some team believes that they can fix his jumper. You got Juancho and Okogie. Okogie's still going to be a really good value with how good of a defender he is. He just needs to really, really work on shooting wise and being more efficient offensively. And then I think Juancho is also a pretty good contract as it's just a filler with the 17 or the 7 million that he has. But so yeah, with Juancho, he's making that 7 million. He's good. He's good trade for a cap filler to make a bigger trade happen and just facilitate stuff. But it's more of the Wolves have a bunch of young assets that have good value. They're making really low money. You got Jalen Noel and Naz Reid both making like 2 million, and Jaden McDaniels, I think he's also making around that money. But they're all worth what the Wolves have them right now is a steal for how they play. And I just think that overall, the Wolves will use these tradable contracts that we have and maybe some young talent with maybe some draft assets to really make a splash this offseason, because I think that Rosas really needs to make a move this offseason to keep his job for the future.
Absolutely. I agree. Let's do a little NBA Finals preview. We've finally reached the end of the season. Should be a super exciting finals. For me personally, it's really cool to see not small market teams necessarily, but teams that we wouldn't have expected to be in the finals. What are you guys looking for in the series?
In the finals, I'm looking forward to seeing if Giannis honestly comes back. I think it's going to be really hard for the Suns to stop Giannis just with his size and length if he does play. I'm also want to see how well will Chris Paul play, and how will this affect his legacy.
Yeah, it should definitely be interesting. Yeah, with Giannis kind of being a question mark right now. But even without him, I think it'll still be like really competitive series just because of the Bucks. Or actually, both teams have really good depth and aren't super star reliant. They kind of just play good team basketball. Yeah, Devin Booker and Giannis are obviously really good, but I don't think like either team with the Bucks having Giannis down, I think they'll still win a few games here and there, and they should keep it competitive.
Absolutely. I think if I'm the Suns, I'm a little bit on edge because I don't know if anybody matches up with the Suns better than the Bucks do. The Bucks can throw PJ Tucker and others at Booker, and they can throw Drew Holiday on Chris Paul. Not that they can just completely neutralize them by doing that, but just good matchups. Drew Holiday's a really, really good defender, especially on point guards. PJ Tucker, we saw what he did with Kevin Durant. Durant still kind of went off, but we know that PJ Tucker can defend. Giannis, of course, is a good defender, maybe a little bit too slow to guard Booker, but he's got the length and height advantage, so maybe he can do a little something there. Brook Lopez isn't going to be guarding either of those guys on the ball, but he's a pretty good team defender. Or he's I don't know, maybe an average team defender. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what Monty Williams does to create open looks for these guys. Devin Booker and Chris Paul both struggled in spurts in the Western Conference Finals. So I'll be interested to see if they are a little bit more consistent, or I guess I should say more efficient in this series. Giannis, like you guys said, that's probably the biggest thing here. I don't know who guards Giannis on the Suns. Jay Crowder will certainly try his hand, as I'm sure Bridges will as well. But they both have their, you can't really match up with Giannis. You can just kind of wall up like some teams have done in the playoffs and then just kind of hope for the best. Make him beat you from the outside. Get him to the free throw line, I guess, and hope he misses. But yeah, so I'll be interested to just kind of watch the coaching war that'll be going on. I think that's going to be super interesting, maybe more so than the Stars playing, honestly, to just see Monty Williams and Coach Budenholzer scheme up some stuff and get guys open looks and all their defensive adjustments.
Yeah.
Exactly. I guess where I rank with this also is like what I think another like logical defender that they even put on Giannis if he does play is maybe they try to put 8 on Giannis. You know, they're both kind of the same height. I mean, it's gonna be a struggle 8 and even guard us still, but it's just width-wise and height-wise, it's probably the best fit. If you're Aiton and you have to defend Giannis, then I'd try to keep him out of the paint as much as you can. Let him shoot those mid-range and three-point jumpers and get him to the free throw line. Yeah, so what are you guys' predictions on the series?
I think that it'll certainly go 6 or 7 games, regardless of Giannis's situation. I think Chris Middleton can get you 2 games in a series. He may struggle in the other 4 or however many games, but I think he can go off for about 35 to 40 in 2 games. And I think if everyone else on the Bucks just plays decent in those games, that they can definitely get 2. So because Giannis is out, I would say the Suns in 7. I think the Bucks role players will prove to be really important and really impactful. So yeah, Suns in 7 for me as of right now.
Yeah, I think it should be a really interesting series. I don't really know if Giannis even has a chance to play. I mean, maybe he does. I think the Suns will start out probably winning the first few games that he'll be out. But I could see the Bucks, kind of making adjustments and coming back later in the series to push it to probably 6 or 7 games. But I think the Suns will probably win in like 6 or 7 games.
I both agree with you. It's really a big factor with the Bucks is if Giannis plays. I think if Giannis plays, I think the Bucks win. If he's out for a significant amount of time, I think the Suns will win in 6 or 7, like you guys are saying. But I know the Bucks can still play without Giannis. They got all these good role players, and it does match up with if Middleton can play really good, like he has been in these conference finals, and if the players around Middleton and Drew Holiday can also step up. And that's been another episode of the Mini Hoops podcast. We'll see you in the next one.